Hey apes, welcome to the close reading video for part 2 of Heart of Darkness. We're going to start on page 32. We have two passages that we're going to be doing close readings for. We'll just do them in one video because they're fairly short. So on page 32 of the Dover Thrift Edition, a little less than halfway, the paragraph starts, "The earth seemed earthly." As I'm reading, I want you to mark and look for techniques and elements that Conrad uses to reinforce a sense of alienation. That's what we're looking for in this scene. So I'll read. "The earth seemed unearthly. We are accustomed to look upon the shackled form of a conquered monster, but there you could look at a thing monstrous and free. It was unearthly, and the men were, no, they were not inhuman. Well, you know, that was the worst of it, the suspicion of their not being human. It would come slowly to me. They howled and leaped and spun and made horrid faces, but what thrilled you was just the thought of their humanity, like yours, the thought of your remote kinship with this wild, passionate uproar. Ugly, yes, it was ugly enough, but if you were man enough, you would admit to yourself that there was in you just the faintest trace of a response to the terrible frankness of that noise, a dim suspicion of there being a meaning in it which you so remote from the night of first ages, could comprehend." Let me move it up a little bit. "And why not? The mind of man is capable of anything, because everything is in it, all the past as well as all the future. What was there after all? Joy, fear, sorrow, devotion, valor, rage, who can tell? But truth, truth stripped of its cloak of time. Let the fool gape and shudder, and man knows and can look on without a wink. But he must at least be as much of a man as these on the shore. He must meet that truth with his own true stuff, with his own inborn strength. Principles won't do. Acquisitions, clothes, petty rags, rags that would fly off at the first good shake. No, you want a deliberate belief, an appeal to me in this fiendish row. Is there? Very well. I hear, I admit, but I have a voice too, and for good or evil mine is the speech that cannot be silenced. Of course, a fool, what with sheer fright and fine sentiments, is always safe. Who's that grunting? You wonder, I didn't go ashore for a howl and a dance? Well, no, I didn't. Fine sentiments, you say. Fine sentiments be hanged. I had no time." And that's where we'll stop, right there. I had no time. The second passage we want to look at a little closer starts on page 40 of the Dover Thrift Edition. The paragraph starts with, "I was looking down at the surrounding pole." This is during the attack. And it's about 3/4 of the way down the page. We're going to start almost to the bottom of page 40. And I have highlighted it on the screen. We cleared the snag clumsily. That's where we're going to start. While we are reading this, I want you to be aware of style. And in this passage, Marlowe changes styles of writing, and I want you to make note of how the style changes. So I'll read. "We cleared the snag clumsily. Arrows, by Jove! We were being shot at! I stepped in quickly to close the shutter on the land side. That fool helmsman, his hands on the spokes, was lifting his knees high, stamping his feet, champing his mouth like a reined-in horse. Confound him! And we were staggering within 10 feet of the bank. I had to lean right out to swing the heavy shutter, and I saw a face amongst the leaves on the level with my own, looking at me very fierce and steady, and then suddenly, as though a veil had been removed from my eyes, I made out, deep in the tangled gloom, naked breasts, arms, legs, glaring eyes. The bush was swarming with human limbs in movement, glistening in bronze color." Let's move it up a little bit. The twigs shook, swayed, and rustled. The arrows flew out of them, and then the shutter came to. "Steer her straight," I said to the helmsman. He held his head rigid, face forward, but his eyes rolled. He kept on, lifting and setting down his feet gently. His mouth foamed a little. "Keep quiet," I said in a fury. I might just as well have ordered a tree not to sway in the wind. I darted out. Below me there was a great scuffle of feet on the iron deck. Confused exclamations. A voice screamed, "Can you turn back?" I caught sight of a V-shaped ripple on the water ahead. What? Another snag? A fulisade burst out under my feet. Let's move it up a little bit. The Pilgrims had opened with their Winchesters and were simply squirting lead into that bush. A deuce of a lot of smoke came up and drove slowly forward. I swore at it. Now I couldn't see the ripple or the snag either. I stood in the doorway, peering, and the arrows came in swarms. They might have been poisoned, but they looked as though they wouldn't kill a cat. The bush began to howl. Our woodcutters raised a warlike whoop. The report of a rifle just at my back deafened me. I glanced over my shoulder, and the pilot house was yet full of noise and smoke when I made a dash at the wheel. The fool, N-word, had dropped everything to throw the shutter open and let off that Martini Henry. He stood before the wide opening, glaring, and I yelled at him to come back while I straightened the sudden twist out of that steamboat. There was no room to turn, even if I had wanted to. The snag was somewhere very near ahead in that confounded smoke. There was no time to lose, so I just crowded her into the bank, right into the bank where I knew the water was deep. So that's where we'll stop. And then you'll have some activities. So these are the two passages, and they can be discussed in our threaded discussion below. These are the two that I wanted us to get a little closer look at. And we'll see you for the next section. Bye.